And tell me, how'd you heard about us and where you're located in your background?
Um, my name is Dana Taylor. I heard about you because I joined GPI. I'm currently in Norfolk, Virginia, and I am a nonprofit specialist.
Okay. And you heard about us how?
Um, I joined your group. I took one of your sessions,
Learn? Oh, okay. Okay.
lunch and learn, or yeah.
Yeah, my master classes. Okay. All right. Well, welcome. What's your background?
I do. I'm a nonprofit specialist. I do grant writing. I help people start 501(c)(3)s. I research grants and things of that nature.
Okay. So, this space is all for profit, correct?
Well, I can do either. The grants are not just for, there are grants out there for profit.
Correct, correct. But I'm saying in this space, what I'm going to be teaching today is all about for profit, for
And
profit.
that's fine. I,
Okay. All
I
right.
truly want to learn the other side.
Okay. Thank you and welcome. Miss
Thank you.
Greer, I think she's still connecting. Dominique, please introduce yourself and tell us your background, where you're located, and how you heard about us.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes. Uh, Basically, my background has been in corporate transportation. I'm kind of retired now since COVID. I heard about you from my daughter. She attended one of your meetings last month with state representative. I forgot her name, and she was pretty impressed. So she told me to give a listen, and that's what I'm doing.
And where are you from?
I'm in Hempstead right now.
Okay, so it was at the New York event with
Yeah, at the
Malik,
New York event, right?
with Malik Yoba, yeah.
And where are you?
I'm in Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, Atlanta. Okay.
Okay,
All right, great. But she was pretty impressed with it, and I kind of just retired, and I'm looking for something to do. So
okay, all
sounds
right,
impressive.
all right. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
Miss Dorsey, please introduce yourself and tell us your background and where you're located and how'd you hear about us. You need to unmute yourself. Unable to unmute. Okay, can you type it in the chat and I can do it for you? Dentista, welcome. Can introduce yourself. It's all about networking to me and collaboration because you never know who could be your potential teaming partner. So Dentista, please introduce yourself and your background, location, and how did you hear about us?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dentista Dean. I'm actually located right here with Paula in Atlanta, Georgia. And I was introduced to procurement last year, and I've pretty much been doing proposal writing, a little bit of procurement research, some logistics as well has gone into that. And I just was fortunate enough to meet Ms. Paula through my business owner, and we worked on project together, and I was just pretty much impressed as well with all of the information Paula brought to our team. And I just wanted to join her program so that I can further my information and get prepared for my business that I would like to launch within the next 2 years.
All right, I love it. And
Thank you.
we just had FW to join us. FW?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I'm sorry. My name is Fabian. I actually own a recycling company, and we've been working and trying to get our 8A for the past few years, and I thought this was a great opportunity.
Okay. And where are you located and how'd you hear about us?
I heard about you through a friend. I'm located in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay. And you're located where?
Atlanta.
Okay, all right. Thank you. iPhone, please introduce yourself. Well, iPhone just hung up. But that's okay. I'm gonna still go ahead and roll with it. It is 9:30. Um, Yvette says she's here in Atlanta, Georgia. She has a healthcare background, and she heard about this session through a business owner. So thank you guys for joining me, and I'm going to go ahead and jump right in. And me and Dominique was the only one that was brave enough to show our face on a Saturday morning. So thank you, Dominique. But I'm getting ready to cut my face off so I won't distract myself as I go through this presentation.
Okay.
Again, thank you for joining us. This is being recorded. So if you like to get a copy of this recording afterwards, make sure you put your email address in the chat feature. All right, let's go ahead and get started with the party. All right, let me just go back up to the top and give you an overview of who we are. All right, we are your federal procurement solutions for small businesses. I will consistently say for the Black community, now is the time. And it's based on this executive order that was issued by the president in 21, where he's placed all of these agencies or made it mandated through this executive order that they increased the level and playing field for underserved small businesses. And what he's done is looked at where these agencies have been spending their money. First thing he wants is that these dollars increase from the goal, which is 5%, and we'll go over those goals shortly, to 11%, with it being 15% by 2025. More importantly, what he's found was that these agencies were awarding contracts to the same old players and in a specific category called category management. And he said, no, we don't want you all to use that anymore for that purpose. We want to make sure that you're increasing new small businesses into this space. And not only that, we're going to monitor to make sure that these numbers increase for small businesses getting into this space. I always like to open up with who I am. Originally, I'm from Asheville, North Carolina. After college, I went to the big city of Washington, D.C., and my first job was with a company that was a part of the 8A program. How many people heard of the 8A program? This is going to be an interactive session. Anybody?
No.
Okay, we're going to go into depth about the 8A program. My first job was with a company who was a part of that program doing event planning. I ended up attaching myself to one contract that was to this same contract that went through 6 companies before I decided to start my own business. My first business I started in 1996. The first year in business, I received my first $1 million contract. Second year in business, I applied for the 8A program, received another $3 million contract, and quickly grew my business to almost $15 million in contracts and 40 employees. And that's where the challenges began, because I really didn't have a clue what I was doing. The government was awarding me millions and millions of dollars of contracts, and I couldn't even read a profit and loss statement. I went from a project manager to running a multi-million-dollar company in 5 years. I had 2 business partners, one who I just called crazy, who felt like he could run all his personal expenses through the business. The last straw for me was a $3,000 custom-made pinstripe suit with his initials going down the pinstripe. Like, you have lost your mind. I had my assistant to do an audit on his credit card. He in turn takes her in the elevator and threatens her. Now I had to make tough decisions as the CEO and ended up terminating him. He then conspired with 2 employees, one which he was having an affair with, to sue me and the other partner for sexual harassment. After 2 years of attorney fees, $125,000 in attorney fees,
Oh, boy.
100,000 to buy him out, I had no more operating cash. So I had to transfer $7 million of my contracts to another firm, 8A firm. That really pushed me to my new passion. And I volunteered as a SCORE counselor, which is a resource partner for SBA. Because I knew no one was teaching small businesses how to manage a business on that level. I created training programs under SCORE counselor, as a SCORE counselor. After running out of money, and after 2 years, ran out of money, applied for a position at SBA and was hired in the Philadelphia district office to service the businesses that were part of the 8A program. That office was also the office that processed all of the applications for businesses applying into that program. So I was able to get, insight on what they were looking for those businesses applying into the program and why they were declining them. After 4 years in Philadelphia, wanted to get closer to my home in North Carolina, relocated here to Atlanta. Stayed at that office for 3 years and realized there was a missing gap. And for me, the icing on the cake was when I was there, I was required to become certified as a contract specialist. And what that did for me was show me how those agencies actually put those opportunities together for you to compete. So that brought it full circle for me, meaning I'd run a business for 10 years. I worked at SBA for 7 years and was certified as a contract specialist. And understanding that nobody at SBA or their resource partners had ever run a business. So what you find on this side, either they are retired government employees or business or development industry specialists, but no one has combined the two. So that's what made me leave SBA in 2015 and create this program. Over my years, I've trained more than 10,000 businesses on marketing to the federal government. And I'm actually going to have to update this PowerPoint because 3 months ago, I had one of my proteges win a $1 billion contract that was 10 years. I've self-published a book called That's Crazy, Recognize Crazy and Run. Names have been changed to protect the innocent, to kind of document the craziness I went through in that business. My purpose for everybody is that you don't have to go through the fire that I went through. I've already created a successful blueprint for those entering into this space. So what are the challenges for businesses entering into this space? What I found was that, I'm sorry, I got distracted. Miss Maxwell, you may need to log in or log back out. Everyone, can you all see my PowerPoint? She says she's having challenges.
I can see it.
I can see it, yeah.
Okay. The small business challenges that would happen when I was working with SBA, we would give them a workshop, tell you this is how you do business with the government, and everybody would leave excited. It's great information, but they weren't quite sure what to do with that information. And it's the same thing with the government agency. Nobody understands SBA's rules and regulations. It's very confusing for everyone entering into this space. So what I realized the challenges for small businesses are when they're entering in this space, no one really understands the government language. The government is assuming that you understand all these acronyms they're talking about. No one understands their processes. Once you determine which program you're qualified for, well, you're not quite sure what documentation you should be submitting to be approved into those programs. And understanding that the government is siloed, meaning nobody talks to each other. And all of these websites need to be connected together instead of operating separately. And that's what adds to a lot of the confusion that I find. So this program primarily was based on my lessons learned. And my lessons learned was, first thing is not to limit your business on your skill set. Most small businesses entering in this space will start a business on their skill set. When I started that first business, I started marketing myself as an event planning company. And my mentor pulled me aside and said, "Why are you pigeonholing yourself?" And when he said that, it made sense based on the 6 companies I'd gone through and looking at their business model. So I changed my business model and I created divisions. I created an event planning division. I created a IT division. I created a publication division, and I created a database division. Because in order to do an event, you have to have those vendors to support that event. I needed the website. I needed print materials. Once people registered in that database, I needed to be able to monitor that. So once I created those divisions, I started winning contracts in each of those areas. So in the first module of my program, which is entitled Business Ready, we help you to change who you are and to help you to become a CEO. Understanding that you don't have to know anything about those contracts to win those contracts. But you have to understand the language and you have to understand what SBA is going to be looking for when you start applying into those programs. Second, understanding collaboration is key. You cannot do this by yourself. Most of these programs are designed for you to collaborate. Most of these contracts require you to collaborate. So in the second module, which is government ready, we put you into teams and we're the government at that time, making sure that you put together the items that you need to respond to as your deliverables. Third, you must have the infrastructure. What do I mean by infrastructure, anybody? Nobody knows?
Uh,
Huh?
staff, the right staff.
Right staff? Y'all heard I just got sued, right?
Mhm.
Accounting, lawyers, anyone that's on business right now and that's in business right now. Anybody that's in business right now must have employment practice liability insurance, specifically if you have employees. Had I had that insurance, that would have covered my attorney fees, and the buyout with the partner. That's insurance, an insurance policy that's completely outside of your general business liability and policy. Did you all get that?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, when you look at the federal government, what's the fiscal, when does the federal government fiscal year start and end, someone?
No.
Nobody knows?
Is the beginning of the year and the end?
Yeah, what month does it start and what month does it end? Nobody knows? Y'all
No.
go,
Ms. Dorsey said October.
huh?
Ms. Dorsey said October.
October, that is correct. October 1st to September 30th. So for you as a small business, there's a specific time that you need to position yourself in marketing to the government. The peak time that you're going to meet, meaning that you're going to be trying to meet with the government agencies, participate in their event days, is generally between October and February and March. Because what happens during that time, the government has not been fully funded. You always hear on the news, they are extending the budget, and they'll also say that they're going to operate on a continuing resolution. And what that means is that they're operating on a limited budget. So once they pass the budget, it generally gets to those agencies, I would say March. So from April to September, if you think about it, they have a whole lot of money that they have to spend. So I'm very strategic in this process and making sure that you understand how to get into this space. Why federal contracts? Because the federal government is the largest buyer of goods and services in the world. Every year, the agencies are gold. Their goal to set aside 23% of contracts for small businesses. 5% if you're in the woman-owned small business program. I mean, woman-owned, yeah. 5% for small disadvantaged business and the 8A, and again, I'll go into details about that program shortly and all of the programs. 3% if you're service disabled, veteran-owned, and 3% for hub zone businesses. And so what that means for you, the more certifications you have, the more you helping those agencies achieve their goals. SBA keeps a scorecard, and because it's just a goal and it's not a law, on how these agencies score as it relates to their contract awards. So over here, you can see the dollars that went to each of the programs. First, just of you being set aside as a small business. But I want you to pay close attention to this number right here, $9 billion that was awarded to this particular program. The 8A program, again, is a business development program. And again, I want you to understand what agencies are awarding contracts in that program and the amount of dollars that are going into that program, as well as the industries that are being awarded contracts in that program. So our goal is to teach you how to shape a business model around the web, based on where the government is spending their money. And again, it has nothing to do with your skill set in managing a business. This was a report that was issued by the Office of Inspector General last year. And Office of Inspector General is a third party who goes in and looks at every agency's programs. In this report, it talks about how many businesses in the entire state that are in this program. I mean, entire United States. That hurts my heart. When I was in Philadelphia, it was close to 10,000 businesses. You can also see the amount of contract awards that were awarded to these businesses in that period, and the ones that were awarded non-competitive contracts. So again, part of the president's goal is to increase it to 15%. They've already met almost 11% in the last fiscal year. This program really is structured for minority-owned businesses. And when I left the DMV area and I went to Pennsylvania, and then when I relocated here to Atlanta, I realized people outside of the DMV area don't have a clue, just based on the number of businesses that are registered in this program. When I did that event in New York, and I did the number of businesses that was in this program in the entire state of New York, it was only 65. And so for me, there's something desperately wrong, because this is a pathway for us to create generational wealth. So when you look at this diagram, does this diagram say anything to anyone? What do you see when you're looking at this particular picture? Does it tell a story to you guys?
Well, Georgia's getting 30% compared to
Correct.
the rest of the country, which is 70%.
Correct. And so what does that say to you?
That means you're doing something right.
There's no
You know what they
competition.
doing in Georgia?
There's no competition.
Yeah.
You got people from outside of the state coming here to win. And so when you look at the 30% out of the 172 businesses in the program, and so you multiply that. So even within the program here in the state, they're not winning contracts. And I knew that by servicing those businesses here. I had 40 businesses that I was responsible for. This was my role over here. There was no way I could service them, if you can see the caseload. And so what I realized before I left, out of the 40, only 5 or 6 were really winning contracts. Everybody else gave up because nobody understood the process. And I did a comparison across the state line with Alabama. So in Alabama, you only have 58 firms. But let me go back here. What I was finding here in this 70%, most of the businesses from DC was coming here. Why? What's here? What's here in Georgia, someone? What federal agencies are here in Georgia? Come on. CDC? Y'all work with me. And 5 military bases. Anywhere there's a military base, there's a government contract. Thank you, Miss Yvette. Miss Yvette on point here. So I tell businesses from Georgia, go to Alabama. You're only competing with 58 firms. And you can see how much was awarded under this program in that state. In Florida, most of that I would say is driven by the Hispanic community. And they share the knowledge and understand the game in Florida. What I realized working with our resource partners is that oftentimes they'll tell businesses, you need to start locally. Start at your local area, start on what you know. then go to the state, and then go to the federal, because you're not ready. And I completely disagree with that analogy. Because on the federal side, there are contracts that are specifically set aside for small businesses that are 250,000 and below. You're also not competing with as many people. If you think about local and state, you're competing with that same pool of businesses within those local and state perimeters. On the federal, it's worldwide. Just because I'm in Georgia does not mean I cannot win a contract in California. If you can't understand and shift your mindset to understand your project management, that's all it is. It has nothing to do with your skill set. We will keep beating that in your head because we've been trained to be laborers. If you think of the education system, you're trained, that degree is training you to go work for someone. Even those with MBA, they're training you to go work for the federal government. So this is the space where all the opportunities are posted at sam.gov. I pulled out a couple of opportunities just so that you could see, and this was from last fiscal year, of understanding how you shift your mindset. This was a total small business set aside, and it was for replacing carpet or floors, right? Do I have to know anything about this? Someone?
No,
What would you do?
you'd have to put the right people together, right? Contract it out.
You're gonna find somebody in Shirley, New York that does carpet replacement. The same thing that you would do with your house. You're gonna screen those people for the government and then put your money on top of it. That makes sense to you guys? And then you're gonna have them to take a picture of it. So you don't have to be there. Or I will build in my time as part of my bid to go up there for those 5 days to supervise to make sure stuff is being conducted. Does that make sense to everybody? This was for, I had a lot of real estate agents. And I said the same thing to you. Remove that title that's real estate agent and think about all the people that you work with. You work with people doing underwriting, closing. So you're already in that space. This particular contract was set aside for businesses that were in the 8A program. Right here is a feature of the forecast that every agency will issue each year. I like HUD because HUD updates their forecast every year, meaning every agency will put out what they anticipate contracts to be for that next fiscal year. These are some of the examples of just a total small business set aside contracts. And they'll tell you when they expect it to come out and when they anticipate it being awarded and how long that contract is. When they say base in 4 option years, that means it's a 5-year contract. So over here, you see the same person that's responsible for all of these contracts. When they're saying recompete, that means you're competing with someone who already have the contract. And you can actually take this contract number and put it in this database that I'll show you shortly after this presentation. So you can see the exact amount that's been awarded for that contract. And you can start reaching out before it's posted. They're telling you it's a new contract, conference support, right? And they want a total small business to support the contract. So in order for me to get ahead of it before it's posted, because once it's posted, she can't talk to you. I can reach out and ask, how many people are you anticipating that will need to support for this contract? Now I can position myself to get ahead of it and contact vendors before it's posted. That makes sense to everyone.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, how do we get into this place? You can self-certify on this database called Systems for Awards Management. This is your first test in getting into government contracts. This is still a relatively new system that has a whole lot of bugs in it. It came into existence while I was still working at SBA, and we would call it such a mess because it's very frustrating. But this is the point where you're going to have to register your business. You can self-certify as a small business and as a small disadvantaged business. There are 4 programs now that require a formal certification, meaning you have to submit an application to SBA and be approved for that program by SBA. The 8A program is a business development program. The HubZone program is based on communities and building communities. The woman-owned small business is just what it is, and service to disabled veteran-owned businesses is just what it is. The 8A program, again, which is a program to my heart because I know this is our pathway to creating generational wealth. To qualify in this program, it requires primarily 2 things: that you're socially and economically disadvantaged. You're in this program for 9 years. It's the only program I know that's designed to build your business by allowing you to have non-competitive contracts up to $4 million, which are called sole source, with no competition. Did y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Can I get amen from the church this morning or something?
Amen.
Amen.
That everybody up in DC, that's where you have the highest percentage of Black wealth. Because everybody's government contractors. My mentor got into this program in 6 years. He sold his business for 27 million. So my goal is to teach you to start a business, get in this program, and have an exit plan. Know where you're going to be at the end of the 9 years. Start planning it now. The HubZone program is based on where your business is located. As long as your business is in an area that's been designated as a hub zone, and 35% of your employees reside in a hub zone, not necessarily the same place as the business, you can qualify into that program. For the 8A program, the social component of it is you must be a Black American or meet all of these ethnic groups. However, if you are not one of these ethnic groups, as long as you can demonstrate that you've been discriminated against, you can apply into this program. All of these programs require that you must be a US citizen and own at least 51% of this business. So this is the game that we're going to play here in this specific program. Because it has a term limit, Mr. Dominique, we will have you go through the program first, and then you have your daughter to start her business as a woman-owned and have her go in second. That allows you 18 years in the program. I don't know if the church got that. The church get that?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Amen.
If you're married, it's the same thing. Both companies, both partners start a business. What you do behind scenes is okay. But on paper, y'all separate. That's how you beat this game. The economic part of it. Your adjusted gross income or your net worth cannot exceed $850,000. They just, after many, many years, just increased this. It used to be 250,000 until about 3 years. They changed it during COVID. So what that means is SBA is going to look at your tax returns and see what your adjusted gross income is. And they're also going to deduct any equity that you have in your primary residence and in your business. And as long as you fall below that 850,000, you meet the criteria. If you have a rental property or real estate, that's where we tend to have our wealth. Those properties will be counted against you. So any equity you have in those properties, that will be applied towards that 850. Any questions?
No.
Okay. If you have a record or have touched that justice system, this is another contracting vehicle or program that those who have touched that system can become a part of. They just can't be on parole or probation. Or again, anything that's, I think most of us have are in there based on weed or something along that level. So to me, that's a way that those individuals can change their families and their future. The HUBZone program has no term limits. You recertify every year. In this program, you're also are able to obtain sole source and competitive contracts in this program, the women's program, and the HUBZone program. The difference in this program than the 8A program, in the order for the agency to award a sole source contract under this program, they have to make sure that there are 2 businesses that are qualified to perform on these contracts. That's called the rule of 2. So the game we play here is, let's say there's these 9 people and all of us are in the HUBZone program. I reach out to one of you guys and say, oh, I found this opportunity that we both potentially can qualify for. Why don't you submit a bid? And if I win, I'll submit a bid. And if I win, I will subcontract to you. If you win, you'll subcontract to me. What you're trying to do is force the agency to direct it as a sole source and eliminate the competition. It says your principal office must be in a HUBZone. Principal office is based on where the greatest number of employees work. As an example, I was the HUBZone liaison here in Atlanta. I had a firm that had an office in Cobb County, which is a upper class county, but he had a HUBZone office in Columbus, Georgia, which was near the military base. And that was the office that qualified into that program because he had a contract and 35% of his employees lived in that area. And that's how he was able to qualify into that program. This is how you determine if your business is located in a hub zone. If I'm a home-based business and my business is located in a hub zone, would I qualify into the program, someone? Yeah, yes. And what makes it yes? Y'all doing it on the chat. Y'all can unmute, give my voice a break. Because you make up the 35% of the employees, if you're the only person under your business. This is what will happen when you put in the address. I was in Florida, and you can see this is where it's designated. This whole area was designated as a hub zone. You go across the street, those areas aren't designated as a hub zone. All of it is based on the census tract, and it's based on unemployment and the unemployment rate for that state. That's how they draw the map. For the women's program, it's broken into two components. The economically disadvantaged, which is similar qualifications that they have with the 8A program. It's based on your economics. And the woman's own small business program. If you qualify for the economically disadvantaged, you don't have to qualify for, you're automatically a WOSB. This is the website that you have to go register your business in for this program. For the 8A program, it's registration under the certified.sba.gov. That's why it is confusing. Right now, they also are not necessarily working with the third party, and it's a fee. I tell businesses, you still have to provide the third party all the documentation, plus pay them. Why not just upload it and understand what's required yourself? Save yourself some money. These are the eligibility requirements. Again, all these programs require at least 51% ownership, day-to-day management. You cannot be a front. Hear me now. You cannot lie to the government. I had access to databases that you could not see. And how most people get caught is the tax returns, because you got to have a W-2 or something that's going to show the paper trail. You can get around this full-time based on your industry. You can justify, well, my business industry does not require that I work full-time because it's IT or it's janitorial or some industry that have off hours. There's no minimum amount of time the business has been have to be operational. Veterans program, I need to take this out, is now under SBA as of January. If you, do I have any veterans online for one? If I do, thank you guys for your service. If you are, have been certified by the VA, they're going to grandfather you in until next year. Again, you get the same opportunities of sole source and set aside contracts based on the rule of two. Again, if you're self-certified, you must reapply under SBA's database. These are the qualifications. What I recommend, I put all of this in these slides, and this will be in the presentation. that you go to the website, and it's going to outline what you're going to need. They've just started this process, and what they've done is actually brought all the individuals that worked on the applications at the VA over to SBA. And they will assign you a person. Let me go, before I get into the program, I want to take you into some of these websites. To give you a general idea, what we'll do is pretty much dress you up. In this space, everybody is doing the same thing. And it's okay because it's billions of dollars of contracts and nobody is going to come and say, oh, you're doing the same thing that I'm doing. So what we do is help you create a business model. First, if you're in healthcare, make it, oh, you don't even have to be. He's not in healthcare. This was one of my 8A firms that's been very successful. But these are his divisions. And what you're doing is creating business models and services that will run across every agency and find the people that have the skill set. Every agency is going to need administrative services. They're going to need IT services. Only certain agencies need the healthcare services. So here he's actually outsourcing doctors to DOD. Made a lot of money outsourcing doctors. He does not have to be a doctor. This here is another one of our students who completed the program, and this is what she created. And by looking at this, does this look like a one-person company? Just by the look, anybody?
No.
No.
Mm-mm. It's the perception. And these are the boxes and the story that she's telling. And in the end, it talks about what you've done in your life. It doesn't matter, or your team is done. In this space, the government requires, this is your marketing material, what they call a capability statement. So by the time you finish the first module, this is what we're looking for you to have and complete. Understand how you're going to understand first, what are your services? Who do you know that have the skill sets in these areas? And now you're going to be selling their skill sets. And you're not saying they're your employees, they're your team. You make money off of people. Makes sense? She did a wonderful job with this. I'm so proud of her. This looks good. Over here is a database. I don't like SAM.gov when I'm searching for opportunities. I generally use this database and it links to SAM.gov. I use this database because it's a little more user-friendly. I'll go to the CBD archives. And again, if you want this recording, make sure you put your email address in the chat and I'll make sure you get it. And then I go here and it's broken down by years. And then when you break it down by years, it's broken down by months. So every day, the government, I go in here, I'm like, what is the government buying today? It's my shopping. So I can go in and see on any given day what opportunities are being posted by by the various industries. When you see sources sought here, and that's part of your homework and assignments in the second module, is people have to respond to a notice. And this is the government's market research to determine who's out there. Because again, they're goal driven. based on who respond to these notices, help the government set those contracts aside if there was enough women or enough 8A or enough HUBZone or enough small business. You're helping them determine the acquisition strategy. It's you'll see it by alphabet. Alphabet is by industries. Parts and equipment is by numbers. So what you see over here is the number of opportunities that are posted by industry for that day. And as you get closer to August and September, these numbers are going to increase because again, they have to get rid of the contracts. So when I go in, I'm looking at what I call sometimes low hanging fruit. I'll use this, shredding, right? Shredding is a low hanging fruit. And some of this is specialized. If I'm in the real estate appraisal service, you know, people who do appraisals. I'm just looking to see who I know and what type of opportunities are they looking for. Kindling, sir, that's dog. Somebody that deals with dog training. The government buys everything. That's why I say you do not have to pigeonhole yourself. So they have a whole lot out today on this site. So I generally go to this area. Yeah, they have a lot out. I look in social services again. Do I need to do? I just want you all to get a general idea. They need sports officials and scorekeepers. That's a contract. Y'all should be saying, wow, or something, give me some feedback, let me know you're still there. I look at education and training. And then I look at, who said they was in recycling?
Yeah.
I look in this area. This would be, what type of recycling are you doing? Are you doing it along this line or what are you recycling?
Metals and plastics.
Huh?
Metal and plastic.
So could you, to me, that's just a dump truck. Do you have
Right.
dump? Huh?
I do. Yes.
So is that something that you potentially could go after?
Yes.
It's in New York, and where are you located?
In Alabama.
All right, Mr. Dominique, you're in New York, correct?
Correct.
How far are you from Staten Island?
Yeah, it's about an hour drive.
So, you may know some people that's in that area that knows somebody that does that you subcontract out to.
Mhm.
That makes sense?
Yep.
That's how we get out of pigeonholing ourselves. And the government buys everything. Mats and mop heads, come on. That's the low hanging fruit. So you look at it, it's going to, if you click on it, you're always going to go to the source. This is Sam, but this is going to take you to that particular notice where you're going to get the details of what they're looking for. I just had to look at that for mops and mop heads, come on. But on the end, it's your tax dollars. So to me, what I figured out was how to recycle my tax dollars.
Mhm.
See, this is the low hanging fruit. 2 pages. Come on, y'all. Does that, in Washington, does that seem hard or complicated?
No.
All right. This is also another database that we use to help you do your research. This is where, open it up. This is where all your tax dollars are being spent. So you can see how much has been spent thus far on what areas and who's getting the money by states. So we teach you to master this database, because once I got on the inside, I realized, oh my God, this is the secret sauce to the Kentucky Fried Chicken, because this is the only place that houses those 8A sole source contracts. Because if you think of the 8A sole source, what happens after people graduate from the program, it just goes to another 8A that's in the program. Those contracts will never, ever be posted on sam.gov. They don't have to be posted. So we teach you how to create a strategy using this database and these contracts. The first thing you see here is what? 8A sole source. Looking at those contracts that expire and looking at SBA's database to determine if they are eligible to keep it, or are they graduating from the program. But I wanted to show you another one of these students who came in, and while she was in the program, she started competing on contracts. And she won just, well, no, I guess I did. Let me go there. I'm here to do it a different way. She won the silly contracts. I call them, or I call it stupid money, one or the other. So this is one of her contracts. It's confidence in motion management. This was a contract she submitted. She's here in Georgia. It was for a 3-day event. The government needed hotel space. She found the hotel, negotiated with the hotel. The hotel's cost for the event was $48,000. You see what she put her award amount in? 104. She won. So she made a $60,000 profit off of that little bid. That's where we teach you to start with the low hanging fruit. And then when you look at the competition detail, what do you see? How many offers was received?
Wow.
One. And it's a total small business set aside with no certification. So that's my goal, is that you learn first on the outside and understand all that you'll need to support, or all the things that you'll need before you get into that program. So when you get into that 8A program, that you are taking off with guns and leveraging the 9 years. That's how we create generational wealth. It makes sense to me. And so what I realized working with SBA, everything is in their resource partners. It's information based. No one is teaching anyone the process. So that's why I created this program. And what I did was take all the templates I had from that first business, and all the things I used in that first business, I created templates so that you would not have to reinvent the wheel. You can go to the workshops and they'll tell you, this is what you need. These are the sections of RFP, and this is what they're looking for, but they're not necessarily telling you how to complete it. So I included a lot of the winning proposals that I won in this module, in this program, So again, once you understand it, you're just going to duplicate it. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. In this first module, these are the goals that we've set for each business owners, with the hope that once you register in SAM, you can start competing. That's all you need to compete for small business set aside. Even if you've been in business, everyone starts at the same place, because most people who started in business didn't start it correctly. I want people to understand what SBA is going to be looking from that entity when you start applying for their programs, because you're going to have to provide supporting documents when you start applying into those programs. That's why we require everybody start at the same place. And we don't want you to pigeonhole yourself in your business based on your name. The government ready module is all around strategy. Now that we've dressed you up in business ready to go to the prom, now it's all about strategy. How are you going to leverage these programs? The contract ready module is all around the All Small Mentor Protege program and the 8A program. I've created a business plan template that's been approved by SBA. As you start applying into these programs, they're going to require a business plan. They're not going to require the same, or they don't tell you. The business plan they're looking for is really your weakness, because these programs are designed to help build you. You're not going to submit a business plan talking about how wonderful your dreams are going to be. In these business plans, they want you to be focused and specific. That's how they determine how you're growing in their programs. Our next session is scheduled for this Wednesday from 8 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. You meet weekly with a live instructor. In addition to that, we have office hours to support you. Office hours are from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Lab sessions are from Thursday to 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. for those who may need additional support in navigating the websites. I won't be teaching this training. I have one of my retired SBA colleagues who know a lot more than I do, because she was with SBA for 40 years, that will be kicking this off. She is also a contracting officer. So my goal when I built my team was to bring a mixture of government people, industry people, so that we're all connected and sharing information what makes sense. When you complete each module, these are the things that we are looking for you to have. It is deliverables. These are things that will be based on you completing homework and lab assignments. What I recommend is that you plan on spending at least 2 to 3 hours outside of the lecture hours to complete these assignments, because this is the only way that you're going to learn. This is where the team comes together, and these are the deliverables that they are required to complete once they are in those teams, and we review it at the end of that module. Contract ready, we go over the RFP function. The cost for this, again, is $19.97. I need to update that. We're now 18 weeks. And if you want to bring an additional person, that person is $1,000. Still trying to make it cost effective for you, but also continue to run a business. Maximum of 2 people. We always need a minimum of 15 people to begin the cohort. We're already at at 18. So we only have 7 seats remaining for this cohort. No refunds. We do allow a year to return and retake the class with no instructor. Everything is recorded in Google Classroom. So even if you miss a class, you can come back and review those recordings. To register, you can go to my website, and I would recommend you listen to some of the previous students. I have about 24. This is the young lady who's going to be doing this cohort. Listen to some of the students that have won contract. This young lady, she started her business in 2020. She came through me, and by 2021, she won 8 contracts, just going after the low-hanging fruit. She now has about 15. She set the mode for everyone because she has 3 babies under 5, was working full-time, and still was winning contracts using the methodology. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. My goal when I created this was to create a community. We have 2,100 businesses that are in this database. Once everyone completes the program, this is how we begin to understand the power of us collaborating. Because just because I'm in Georgia doesn't mean I can't win a contract in California, because I know I have people that have gone through this program and understand the language and understand the power of us working together. With that being said, I believe that's my story. If you want to purchase my book, you can scan that. That's my story. Anyone have any questions? Any questions?
Not
Yeah, I
right.
have a question.
Yes.
Do you recommend using an existing business or creating a new one for the certification?
Use that existing business. That's where my
That's
headache,
everything. Have a good weekend.
that's where my headache began. And those that have been in real estate, they were good for having 2, 3 entities. And that's a headache because I have to follow the money. I have to have income tax, profit and loss statements for each of those entities. Why can't you just change your current entity and just keep doing what you're doing and just add these divisions like I did? Does that make sense? The young man who asked the question?
Yeah, that makes sense. So you're saying potentially change the business name to be more generic.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're gonna keep the history because we want your history. But you can change your legal name to a DBA, where the government will know you as that name.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yep, that makes perfect sense.
Okay. Anybody else have a question? All right, I always like to get my takeaways. So Mr. Dominique, what did you take away?
Well, it's pretty comprehensive. I learned a lot. I'm trying to take it all in, do a little more research, but it's got a lot of potential. I like your background and what you're trying to do for the community. I'm just gonna keep getting more information and get back to you.
Yeah, it's a game changer.
Yeah.
That's my goal. And to get the younger ones in. I'm trying to get them before they get caught up in corporate. Because again, You get caught up in corporate after 20 years, you're making too much money. It's time for you to go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
All about the
yeah.
dollars.
Yep.
So Miss
Thank you.
Paula,
Yes, ma'am.
for the training program, do you meet once weekly via Zoom? Is it that 8 to 9:30 time
Yes,
slot
ma'am.
each
Yes,
week?
ma'am.
Okay. And we can just go to your website and enroll for the program
That
and
is
pay?
correct.
Okay.
That is correct. What was your takeaway?
I think there's a lot of money out there. There's a lot of money out there for us if we can figure out how to procure these contracts. And like Mr. Dominique was saying, I think it's a great thing that you're offering these services to us. You know, a few companies can't make all the money, right? So we just have to get our business plan, get our business mind, and connect these contractors together so, you know, we can eat too.
That's it.
It's a lot of money for everybody. It's enough for everyone, but we so used to chasing the crumbs. Like, get out the crumb chasing business, y'all. I'm trying to take y'all over here.
Exactly.
Thank you. Ms. Dorsey, what was your takeaway?
I thank you so much. This was an amazing, amazing presentation. And the fact that you bring to the table that you're coming from the contracting officer, contracting specialist space, you know, the behind the scenes and how to maneuver between these different sites and what the government wants to see and what they don't want to see when you're presenting for an opportunity in these solicitations. And I also like the fact that you touched on SAM.gov. Unfortunately, it is a quirky system to work out of. You look at some of the deadlines, you're like, okay, that's 3 days away. What am I supposed to do now? And the fact that you shared with us another site that you go to really kind of position yourself, I'm just totally just impressed with your presentation and the knowledge you bring to the table. So thank you. Hats off to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And because again, my vision and really my vision, I was going to be a good government employee and retire until they made me mad. Once they made me mad, I said, you know what? I've studied SBA for 7 years. I'm going to come out and create an SBA the way I know it should be run. And that's what I've done for the last 8 years. Last year was our biggest year. We had 225 people that came through the program. I'm having the graduation on June 25th. 25th, because we don't celebrate us becoming CEOs. And I had one young lady that started in August. She's won her first contract. So it works. I don't guarantee, hear me now. I'm not going to tell you once you complete this program, you're going to have millions of, no. You got to do the work.
Yeah.
I can say once you do the work and you apply it, I got too many evidence of people that are millionaires based on this training.
And that's the secret sauce. You have a track record.
Yeah, because you have a lot of people out here charging people crazy money for this, and they're not giving them the whole. And for me, my goal is that this program will be free. My goal, only way I get back in the government contract, they give me a $30 million contract so that you don't have to pay to get this knowledge. And I've gotten all the think tanks in government, top black think tanks in government on my team. I want all this knowledge to come together. We can no longer afford to compete with each other. That's their game. We've got to collectively pool our resources together as if we were segregated, because when we were segregated, truth be told, we had more businesses. We were doing okay. We just want to equal sharing. Just give us the money. We can still handle our community. We can build, but they tricked us. So this is my way of changing this game. And I guess I'm a little over. I know I'm over. You can leave if you need, but my father was one of the first Black police officers in my hometown. And he ended up suing them for discrimination. He ended up winning. After he won, he retired and ran for city council, became a city council, and decided there was a park, there was some land by the projects that the kids needed to park. While he was city council, he got it funded, and now we have a park in his name. So my community activism is all about when I grew up. In my neighborhood, we had a community. When we were segregated, they destroyed it. I had to go to the school, we were bused. We were the first generation that was bused to the white schools, and they weren't prepared for us. And from the 6th to the 10th grade, there were riots, and it was not the whites, it was the Blacks rioting, because my generation knew at that time, y'all destroying our community. And it's never been the same. You think about it, they talk about gentrification. Gentrification started with urban renewal. That was back in the 60s when they came in and decided, we want your land, we're gonna build projects, that's where we're gonna put you all at. And now they, in my hometown, because they made a mistake and built the projects around the water, because you know they like water. Now they want those projects back. So now they've gone in and destroyed almost all of the projects that had generations of people living there. Those were, even though they were projects, they were still communities that people knew they grew up in. So my mission is bigger than even this program. My mission is to use you guys to be in a better position for the next generations, for those great-great-grandchildren, and understand that this, in the end, is our tax dollars. I don't think our community look at these contracts as our tax dollars. And for me, as that 25-year-old in DC and coordinating meetings with the White House and a lot of these high-level department agency, I was sitting inside those meetings and I was like, oh, this is how the money flows. It comes out of my taxes, and then it goes to Congress, and then they disperse it. Most of our community, because we are servants, get caught up in the nonprofit world. And the nonprofit, I had exposure to that. One of my contracts was to process all the grant applications for the government. We collected the application, put them in the database, called in the reviewers, scored the application, wrote up what the reviewers recommended, and it gave me an insight. Oh, this is how that side worked. On that side, it's a whole lot more work because you have to have more structure. Was that Miss Taylor that was in the grant? You got to have more accountability and record keeping. So for me, Understand America is all about capitalism. So for me, I said, okay, nonprofit. I understand how that game works. I'm gonna start a nonprofit in my father's name. So when I start making money in my for-profit, I'm gonna dump it right into that nonprofit as a tax shelter. I also wrote the nonprofit mission statement broad enough so if I wanted to get grants, I could get grants. But I knew that side was harder in getting that type of money, and the scrutiny is a lot more than it is on this side. But I also knew nonprofit is for the community. So when I started that nonprofit that first year, because my father was unique in being a police officer, he was bridging the gap. He wasn't taking anybody to jail. He was a juvenile police officer. He had built these relationships with all these white rich people in my town. And so when I started the foundation, I went to them. They was like, "Ooh, Herb, yes, here's $3,000." I raised $15,000 in that one setting, and was able to push 4 kids to college. That's all we were doing. I wanted them to help pay for my kids to go to college. So we've got to think differently. We no longer can look at each other as my enemy and understand if we collectively pool our resources together, there's no reason we can't go after those $200 million contracts. Position ourselves better. Because right now we can't fight them. We have no money. They're making all the rules. And through these contracts, through my tax dollars, this is my way of at least positioning us to be able to come to the table and play the game.
Amen.
So that's my story. I know I've held you all over a little longer. I appreciate it. Cynthia, tell me your takeaway, and I'm going to close it out. I think I got it.
Well, hey, well, it's such a delight talking to you again. So thank you. Earlier this week we spoke. Of course, my takeaway is just basically looking at how to get started. As I shared with you, I'm actually trying to figure out how I could possibly, start in June versus August. But that's my primary takeaway. I'm extremely excited, love to hear everything that you are looking to do for the community. This entire thing around inclusiveness really has me excited. Like I mentioned to you, I'm right there at 50, so I'm trying to think about that retirement, for the next 15, 18 years, as well as, thinking about my children. So one of the things though, like I said, I'll just be following up with you, again, about trying to get myself kickstarted. I share with you, I do have an LLC. I really don't have a lot of history behind it. So, those are some of the things, some of the aspects that, that I would have more questions about in terms of
That's
getting.
all covered in the class. We
Yes.
tell you all the documentation that you're going to need.
Right.
And you're going to do the research of why you're creating those entities. Again, we just create them because
Yes.
somebody told us to create them.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Well, with that being said, you guys have a wonderful weekend, and I will definitely send you guys the recording and hope that you become a part of our community. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much, Paula.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you.